Well, hello, wealthy women. It is Coach Tamara here, bringing you another beautiful, inspiring success story interview. And I have to say, I was mesmerized by this woman when I got to meet her for the first time. Everything that she spoke about resonated and made so much sense to me that I could not wait for this interview. I was so excited. And I know that all of you women, are going to understand this so well because it'll make sense and allow you the freedom to be who you authentically, naturally are. So, without further ado, and without giving up too much information, I'm going to pass over the mic and the video and let us know who you are, what you do, why you do it, and where people can find out more.
Oh, okay. So my name is Chef Katrina, and yes, I was a chef. I actually worked at Walt Disney World for a little over 12 years, almost 13 years. And when I shifted from being in the kitchen into the online space, the Chef Katrina brand just followed me everywhere. And it kind of gives me that little differential in the market because who is this chef and what is she teaching and why is she teaching business to women? So I have been in the world of entrepreneurship since about 2008. I didn't realize this was my path, but I picked up a book on the way to college. My parents handed it to me. It was a book called By Rich Dad, Poor Dad, What the Rich Teach Their Kids That the Poor and Middle Class Do Not. That was my first introduction into the world of what might an entrepreneurship life look like. So I dove into that. I loved working at Disney. I loved being an employee. But I recognized early on that it wasn't for me. As I moved through management stages, I recognized this wasn't who I was. So I became an entrepreneur. And so that's my journey for here. You can definitely find me on social media. Chef Katrina is my brand. If you want to find more about my company, it's truthbombmarketing.com. You can also head to our website, which is truthbombmarketing.com, to learn more about what we offer. But I really dove into the world of business education. I love how business works. And most importantly, I like what can happen when women build a business and then take that money and continue to grow it. A lot of the things I started to see over the last 15 plus years of being in this industry was that women were making money, but they weren't keeping the money. And if a company went out of business, so did their paycheck. And I started seeing this happen more and more. And I said, there's something that we're missing as women around how we're making money to how we're keeping that money. What is the money conversation we're missing? So I specialized in marketing, saw the gap around money, started doing some questioning, and then I said, there's something else we're missing as women, and that's really building a business as a woman. So I know we're going to dive more into that as we go through, but that's kind of my quick overall introduction.
I love that. I love that. Yes. And I definitely want to get into, some of the specifics of focusing on running your business without the hustle boys club culture. Let's say we love them. They're fantastic. We can learn and glean a lot from it. However, that doesn't necessarily mean we should model everything. So
Mhm.
this is a really great conversation, and I'm just going to let you take it away on this piece here because this is really juicy stuff, and I think it will really let women know, have a big breath of relief, basically, like,
Yeah.
thank goodness, something like that they're going to
Deal.
feel.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Because here's the thing, as I was working with women, the one thing that really got to me, and this was early on, is I was hosting these I was part of these six-figure workshops where we were teaching high-level marketing, high-level business. And I remember there was one section where I actually got to train time management, and I hated it. It felt so inauthentic because what I was told around time management was create your DMO, which is your daily method of operation, have this checklist of things you must do, do your 5 a.m. morning or miracle morning thing, which was like a list of 20 different things that you did. And the first time I heard this, the guys were teaching it. And I remember sitting in the audience looking around me, and I could just see women struggling with this conversation because now they're thinking, well, I got to get the kids up. I got to make breakfast. I got to get everyone dressed. I got to get everyone to school. I got to get this like, how am I supposed to set this time aside for me to do these 20 things you're telling me to do? It didn't feel authentic, right? And the more I saw this, I saw women start breaking down. Every time we did this section in the training, I would literally be outside the workshop with a woman that was just in tears because we didn't understand how this happened. That was my first awareness that something was off. Something was off, and I didn't know what it was. It took till now to have this conversation. So what you're asking is, what's the difference between men and women in business? The biggest question I always had is like, okay, I asked this question and everybody resoundingly agrees. Do men and women do business differently? Yes, right? Everyone says
Mm.
we do. Okay, what does that actually look like? What's the tangible, what's the deliverable, what does that we look like? And so one of the things that we've been gifted by the men is we've been gifted the principles of business. Now the principles of business are like the law of gravity, the law of abundance. They are kind of the set blueprint, but it doesn't mean that they have to be the ultimate blueprint. There is room to creatively and be creative with this process. So one of the things that we learned early on around men and women was that men have actually built their businesses around how they feel. And I said, well, this is interesting. So let me give you an example of this and then kind of step back and look at it from the female perspective. So, as men and women, men have been actually taught and trained through secret societies and everything else how to build around how they emotionally feel and how they hormonally feel. So, men wake up in the morning and they have high testosterone, high cortisone. This is their productivity period, ladies. This is why they get so much done, and also why they wake up with a need to be in action first thing in the morning, right? Because this is where they wake up. This is where they're most cognitive. And we see this in how they plan their day. Their first part of their morning is all productivity, right? This is when they get stuff done. This is why the opening bell happens in the stock market, right? This is why everything happens in the morning, the 5 a.m. It's because this is how they've culturally built and hormonally feel. So they're taking advantage of this. In the afternoon, their testosterone starts to wane. This is where happy hour came into play. This is where afternoon golf came into play. This is where they felt more connected to people. And so they started making their offers. This is where they closed the deal, more to say, right? And then in the evening, their estrogen kicks in, which is where they make it so romantic. This is when guys get romantic. They're good at dating. They're good at, just connecting with women at this time because they're more into that connection. And then they go to sleep and they reset. We see this throughout everything we're doing in business. Everything we've been gifted, everything they've told us, we follow their methodology, their cycle. Well, here's the crazy part. Women don't cycle hormonally the same way men do. And we've been shamed and blamed around a lot of how we cycle. So we called it our period, which we were told to hide. We were told to that this was something that we don't discuss in public. We don't have conversations with other women around it. But what's been interesting is because we've gotten into the field of science in the last 50 years because women have become doctors now. We've had those medical professions, and now we're curious about what our body is doing, right? And so women actually cycle within a 28-day to 30-day cycle. But hormonally, what happens chemically in our brain, what happens physically in our body is vastly different than what the men have been teaching us. So when we talk about high levels of burnout, we're experiencing it because we're trying to cycle as if we're a man. It's not just masculine energy and feminine energy. It's actually hormonal, biological, physiologically, psychologically what we're dealing with. So women, we note our cycle starts. Most of us recognize it is if we start our period, right? So that's usually when we start thinking about, hey, this is what's going on. So that's the actually end of your cycle. That's your reset period. So what happens before that or after that is you go into what we call your follicular phase. Your follicular phase is for women, high creativity, high level of thinking. So like we were talking, coach, around there are times when I'm having this high level thinking and I'm sitting at my computer and like all these great ideas, I'm a downloading goddess, right? Everything is coming in. I'm thinking big picture. I see everything clearly. I feel energized around what I'm doing. And that is the follicular phase. That is your body basically preparing for life, right? So inside of that, we use this time period as women, this 7 to 10 days, to really look at specific areas of our business and specific tasks. and tasks to do this. And a lot of people think, or a lot of women think, well, but I'm not doing something every single day, so this isn't fast enough. Women, slowing down is our speed, right? You talk about
Mm,
the hustle code culture, right? Slowing down
oh,
is actually our speed, and the guys need
love
us
that.
to slow them down because everything's a race forward, but it's a race forward to a singular point. And when you step back and look at the global picture, which is what women do, naturally, because right, we're always looking at the bigger picture. If any of you have children, you don't think about your child in the moment, you think about everything that's going to happen to them every day of their lives. They get up on the couch, they're going to fall off, they're going to walk outside the street, some car's going to hit. Like, you are already massively thinking, right? Take this into your business. Okay, so 7 to 10 days of creativity, and then you're going to hit what we call your ovulatory phase. Ovulatory phase is, of course, what your body is doing. It's producing life. It's creating the nutrients for that. And at the same time, your body is saying, let's go tell people what's going on in my life. So this is high communicative. So this is 3 to 5 days where this is where you should be planning your videos, writing your content, networking, hanging out with your girlfriends, having those real conversations with your spouses. This is where you are really crystal clear on what you want to communicate. You're not stumbling around in the fog, right? We talk about brain fog as women. A lot of that is because we're trying to create levels of conversations when they don't actually fit into our cycle. And so during this phase, it's just really high communication. And I can find that. Like, I really get excited during certain times. Like, I will do videos. Create all your videos in those 3 to 5 days. Okay. Like, just blast it out, cut them up short, and then use that for your marketing. In your luteal phase, your body is actually like kind of nesting, I guess you could say. It's getting ready for life. So this is where women tend to fine tune the details. This is where we are actually more productive. And this is anywhere from 7 to like another 7 to 10 days. And so during this time period, you're getting tasks done. This is like your completion phase. This is where you're like, okay, what's our loose ends? What needs to get wrapped up? What do I need to finalize? What do I need to plan for kind of next kind of a thing? And this time period is really where you feel more productive. Where guys have hours of productivity, we have days of productivity. And when you look at it from that perspective, we actually have longer periods of time during the month where we'll get more done than the guys will ever get done in a month. But because we follow this DMO method but we're actually an M, you know, what is it? Not daily method of, so we're an MMO. So instead of a DMO, we're a monthly method of operation, right? It's different. There are certain tasks that you're going to do. And then the last thing that we often overlook as women is that we hit our menstrual phase, which is anywhere from another 3 to 5 days, 3 to 7 days. We don't rest, but that is literally your body saying, stop, take a breath. And this is a great time for journaling, reflecting, looking at what worked through your month, what didn't work through your month, and then taking that next action and then preparing for that creativity phase, that high level phase that you're going to go through. It's okay to rest. It's okay to take a day off. It's okay to ask your spouse or a friend to help watch the kids or do something so that you have complete downtime, because we actually need that as women, that reset. So when we found this out, and it was actually a book that I read called In the Flow by Dr. Lisa Vetti, or not Dr. Yeah, no, she's not a doctor. She's Lisa Vetti. She's a researcher. Um, but she kind of goes over how everything affects us as women, whether you're surgical menopause, which is where you've had a hysterectomy or something like that, where you've been forced into menopause, you're perimenopausal or postmenopausal, right? What I asked was, I was working with women as I'm discovering this, and I met a lot of women that all of a sudden were like, I don't have a period. How is this going to work for me? Like, what is this going
I
to
was
do?
just a Yep, I was just about
Right?
to go into that because I know there's going to be women viewers listening to that and thinking, I get
This
this.
is
I
me.
love this, but what about me? Because now I'm in this phase of my life. So yes, please share on
So
that.
what was interesting is that, and we recently actually had a woman that was surgically menopausal. So she's really just going through this. And because we've had this conversation previous before she went through that, one of the things they asked about was the moon cycle. So what we don't often, we consider this the woo-woo. I hate quotes for this one because it's really not woo-woo. It's actually the energetics of being a female. But we're really energetically aligned to the moon phases. So men are energetically aligned to the sun, which is why we call it the circadian rhythm. So they're 24 hours, so they go sun. But if you ever look at it, moon rises not just at night, it actually even rises during the day. If you ever watch and look at it, they'll say the moon rises at like 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So it's very different. But a lot of women said, okay, what is this moon cycle? So one of the things we've brought in is the moon cycle, which again mimics that energetic that we experience if you are menstruating. So if you're in your infradian rhythm, which is actually what it's called an infradian rhythm. Men are circadian, women are infradian, but we live in that dual world as women. So we're more complex, right? That's what we do. But it was really interesting to say, okay, now I know this information. How do you weave this into the world of business? But the going back to the moon phase, it's been really interesting. The more I'm aware of the moon phase, actually, the more my cycle is starting to sync to the moon phases, and I'm more sensitive to the energy that's taking place. Like it was never in my world before, but the more I fall in love with being a woman, and that's really weird to say, but the more I fall in love with being a woman, I'm okay with what makes us different, what energies we have, what empathy we have, what compassion we have. That's vastly different because we're using two different energies. And I'm just now, within the last couple of years, becoming more sensitive to the feminine energy and the power it harnesses. So that's been a big piece of this.
I mean, this is, this to me is everything because here we are, all women. We're women business owners. We have families, all parts of our life, and we may have been operating most likely in all aspects of our life under the male, outline of how it should be
Yeah.
done. And then condemning ourselves when we just thought there was something wrong with us, that we were getting it wrong. If this isn't a gift of freedom to all of us women to hear this now and be able to say, oh, wow, okay, that makes sense now. Okay, wow, I'm so excited. I can just be free to be me. And turns out that I can really like have so much potential for success in so many ways. I just need to honor, understand, and respect the way that a woman experiences and goes through life. This is, you know, we didn't know any
We
real
didn't.
difference. We didn't
We
have the
didn't.
role models, right? So
Yeah,
here we
our models were the men,
are.
right?
Yeah,
And that was perfect. Like I always say, I have learned a
absolutely.
lot from the men. I have
Absolutely.
every man that every mentor, every coach that I've had has been a
Yes.
guy.
Yes.
And the gifts that he's given me to get me to where I am today, to have me ask the questions that I'm asking now, has been truly the biggest breakthrough. But and they support everything I'm doing. They're like, I love that you're bringing this because they've even voiced that they struggle with coaching women
Yeah.
because they go in with their daily method of operation and they just expect us to be able to perform at that level that they do. And I hear a lot of women, and maybe for those that are listening, you've heard it's like, I'm behind, I
Mhm.
can't keep up, I'm not getting this.
Mhm.
And we beat ourselves up because we're not in what we call a linear alignment, right? Men are linear, they're straight line. They want a conversation that has a starting point and an end point, and then they're done, right? You ever sat down as women?
Oh,
Ha
circle work.
have you ever had a conversation with a group of women? Does it ever stay on topic?
Never.
Ever, right? It
No.
literally flows and has different pieces, and if it's something important, we'll come back to it. But it makes no sense to an outsider and drives men absolutely insane because they're waiting for us to get to a point. But we've just gone through 27 stories and it made perfect sense to us, and our brain comprehended it all.
Yep. Like foreign language. Yep.
It really is.
Hmm.
So, I mean, it really took something for me because I remember a little of my backstory. When I got into this, I followed all the methods that were given to me. I successfully built my business using their methodologies and their trainings. I burnt out probably about 3 years ago to the point where I just sit there. Remember, I was at a friend's house. I'm on the call with my business mentor, and he's telling me this is what you need to do next. This is what you're going to do to scale. And all I could feel was exhausted inside, like mentally exhausted, physically exhausted, emotionally exhausted. And when I said this, we experience exhaustion very differently from as men from women. Because what I'm trying to communicate, they don't receive or hear because they're not experiencing it through the way we experience it, right? And I just remember walking out of that call, opening the door, and I'm just like, I was almost in tears. I was ready to quit my business altogether and close the doors. Like I just didn't see it. And so I went to an event that weekend and I met a lady who considered herself, now she's no longer doing this anymore, but she considered herself a business muse. And this really was kind of like that, you're always looking for that point that kind of shifted everything. So total breakdown, right? Ready to throw in the rag and call it quits and go get a job. Um, And so when I was talking with her on the phone for our first conversation, I told her about what I wanted to do with the business. The crazy question, she asked me a question no guy could ever ask me. There's not a male coach in the world that will ever ask you this question. And this really turned me on to something that was crazy. So she asked me a question that you'll never hear it ever unless you get someone like this person, right? And so and I can say this, right? I'm free and clear to say whatever I need to say. Got it.
Clear.
Okay. And so the question she asked me is I was sitting there like, what do I want to do with my business? And she goes, well, have you consulted your pussy? I was like, what the heck did you just ask me? Right. One, I was offended because the word pussy was very offensive. You're hearing this and you're offended by that word. I get it. I was highly offended that she used that terminology. I found it derogatory. I found it belittling. I didn't understand why she would use a word like that. And then I realized something very profound is I had an issue with being a female because that word should not upset you. It should excite you. When I realized that when she asked me if I had consulted my pussy, I realized that there was something else that was going on. I realized I was all up in here and I had no idea what was going on down below. I was literally everything in my life, relationships, family, business was all from the head up. The neck down, I was disconnected. Right. And when she asked me if I consulted my pussy, I was like, I got to find out what the heck that actually means. And that really dove me into this conversation that we're having here today. Because without that one question, I would have been stuck in the same methodology of building a business and not listening to my body and not listening to, okay, yes, this is the way you build a business, but this doesn't feel authentic to me. I want permission for me to build my business authentic to me. And it's going
And
to
that's the
look
key
different.
word.
Yeah.
Permission. It's permission. It's awareness and permission. And I love that. And, there was even a couple things when we first spoke, even the wording
Ooh.
that we tend to use. This really struck a chord. Maybe you can just give a couple little examples because when you listen to this women, get a feeling for your sense of how it changes with the different option and how you go into a more relaxed mode. It is instant. And this just shows you just this little simple example that we do receive differently. And we need to acknowledge, accept it, and move in that manner that suits us authentically, like you said. So, yeah, go ahead.
So one of the things that happened with this is that I was teaching planning. So I was using a planner and I was teaching women how to plan. And at the beginning of every year, we would go through this questionnaire asking us about this, what we wanted in our lives, what we were looking for. And women struggled with the specifics of questions over and over again. Like I saw it year after year, and it didn't match for them. So one of the big ones was what are your top 10 what was it? It was like what were your top 10 achievements? So achievements set women off. That word did not resonate with them. Achievements, they struggled with it. Like they didn't have anything they achieved. They were a mom. That wasn't an achievement for them. They were a wife. That wasn't an achievement for them. They were a college graduate. That wasn't an achievement. Like they didn't see the same word. So we actually had to reword that into moments. So what were your top 10 proudest moments in your life? When we moved from achievements to moments, women were able to put 10 down like it was nothing. But achievements, they literally got to maybe one or two, and then they didn't see themselves as achieving anything. It was hard for them. So we started asking for words that made sense, right? As we were going through the planner and looking at what our day-to-day looked like, there's a lot of words called goals in there. What is your daily goal? What is your weekly goal? What is your goal, your goal, your goal? And again, it felt like this. If you ever play football, you know, we have goalposts, right? So we associate goals with like a victory of doing something, completing a task. Women struggled with this because if you look back what I just said around our cycle, because we're cyclical in nature, we don't actually complete something in a day. We complete something over a period of 30 days. Like we have a bigger cycle for that. So one of the things we ask the women is, what if we remove the word goal, what would be another word you'd use? And the biggest word that really resonated was intention. So what is your daily intention? Because if you have kids or a business or family or you're a caregiver or something else, life changes every single moment because you can't control your outside of you. So we had them start setting intentions. What's your intention for the day? And when we really looked at that, we actually added a feeling to it. So what's your intention today? Is it to be at peace? Is it to be happy? Is it to be bold? Is it to be daring? Is it to be adventurous? Is it to be love? Is it to be compassion? And we asked them really what their intention was, not just for the day, but for the week. And then we stepped that back to the month and we said, what is your goal for the month? Looking at everything you want to take on for this month, what would you like to be? Who would you like to be inside this intention? And it just opened this space for women. I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about this. Like I'm getting like, yeah, because it gave them the space to really say, this is who I choose to be this month, no matter what actions or productivity I have to do. This is who I'm going to be in these activities. I'm going to be a loving mom. I'm going to be a loving wife. I'm going to be a lover of my business. I'm going to be a lover of marketing. Like when you start putting that in, it changes the whole way you approach your business. So we had to remove goal because it didn't fit and we replaced it with intention.
I love that. You know, when we spoke, that one really hit me. And immediately I started, I use intentions a lot as a word, but this just solidified that meaning. And what you're saying in the be, right? Women are in the being, men are maybe in the doing. We're
They
the
are.
beers, right? So let's be the bees. Like being, that is so important. Embodying, right, who you are, and just and going with that flow, for lack of a better word,
Yeah.
really. And in that flow. And what else can you tell us about how this is resonating with the work that you obviously are currently doing now? What are your bigger visions for some of the things that you want to do with this sound work that you're doing?
I look back for the bigger vision of this, and I look back to literally how far we've come in a very short period of time as women. And yet we still struggle as women culturally across all countries, all age groups. Culturally, we're all still dealing with a lot of shame and blame around being a woman, the things that we experience, what happens to our bodies, what we're feeling, what we're emotional, like you're just too emotional. Well, emotions are a good thing. It's actually the trigger that wakes you up, that makes you aware, right? So I think one of the couple of the biggest things I want to do as I move forward is I want the female planner. That's one of the things that we created was a planner. So create her. If you guys look at my name here on the screen, create her is because we are creators. As women, we are absolute creators. We've birthed all of the world, right? If it wasn't for women, there would be no children. Well, I couldn't say that, but we've literally birthed the world. We are creators. We are designed as creators. And every month our body cycles through that. Whether you have the hormones or not, you are tied to the earth. You're tied to Mother Nature. Father Time, Mother Nature. There's a
Mm,
reason why we have these old school sayings. Father's time, mother is nature. Women, we are nature.
that's
Okay.
strong. Yeah.
Yeah. So get back to grounding your roots. Get back to stepping outside. Get back to that playful, creative space that you want to be in, right? We need women to be more creative. We're losing creativity in this world. We're literally losing it. We don't see it in anything, in movies and writing and anything. It's starting to, so my ask for you ladies is get back to your creative, right? Stop being the doer, start being the creative. So the planner that we've put together is really focused on the feminine energy. It has you track your cycle. It's the first planner that integrates business and your energy. I want you to become aware. It's going to take you about 90 days to get aware, because if you've never felt your lower body, you're going to have to get used to it. You're going to have to start feeling it. You're going to have to experience yourself. Okay.
Trust it.
Yeah, you're gonna have to experience, trust yourself, document it. So we created the first planner that actually has you track your energy throughout the day, throughout the week, and track your cycle, whether you're following the moon cycle or you're following your infradian rhythm cycle, noticing where you're at, becoming aware of it, and then looking at what tasks you should be doing within those energetic phases throughout the month. Because there are certain things you're going to excel at and certain things you're going to table, and that's okay. The next piece of this that I really want to do with this is, not only is it an amazing coaching program that we're putting together to teach women this business and the money side. So it's marketing and money. If you start making the money, but you're spending it, that's a problem. So we've got to keep women and educate them. And the reason this is so important is because women weren't allowed to open a checking account without their husband's signature until 1976. I think is around the date, right? It's less than 50 years ago that we had the ability to own our money. So we are in the infancy stage of this. So there's a lot we don't know about money. So I'm asking you, invest in learning about money, how it works behind the scenes. Go get with a guy, get with a financial broker and pick their brain. Like, they're going to give you the information because they want you to have it. They're not seeing you as competition. They're seeing as someone that they can educate. So be open to asking questions and saying, I don't know what the heck that means. Okay. Lastly, I want to bring the Create Her method to all women. So I want to create a certification program around this, which is going to be coming out, so that you can take the fundamentals of what we're teaching around the business basics, which we've touched upon, but what we really had to look at with women in business is we had to get you back in your creative mode. Business planning actually gets into your linear mode, like the masculine. I needed to get back to the feminine. So we created a new methodology around how to plan and scale your business. And we did it in a more fun and playful way, which you're going to think is awkward and weird. But the one thing is everybody that's walked out of our branding class has said, I now have clarity of who I am. Because when you go through the analytical and then you bring in the creativity on the back end, we turn off your brain and we get back into the body. So business planning is analytical, but we can do that for a short period of time. And then we got to get you back into your body as a woman. And we got to have you process it entirely from head to toe, not just in your head. We needed to get into your heart. So those are some things, but I have big plans for women to take this method into any of their coaching programs, into corporate, into every level, because once women start feeling this, only then can we help bring this to the men and create that real balance that we want. I can't teach the men this because they're not going to understand it. The women have to experience it so that they can communicate it effectively to in their business environment and see how it's working for them. That's the shift. It's got to be felt and done by women first before I can say, hey guys, this is what we're doing. Like, the guys love this because they want women to succeed. They have every level, from lawyers to corporate women to everything. The guys at the level say, these women are coming in, they're powerhouses, and then they're burning out. How do we keep them longer? And so their quest to have women in these higher level places where we want to be requires that we look at and we shift our approach to entrepreneurship, to being a mom, to being a spouse, to everything. And it all first centers around you. We often hear this, you've got to take care of yourself first before you can take care of others. They always say, put your mask on first, then take care of everybody else. Women, you've got to get back into your body first and understand yourself, your energetic cycle, and then you can bring it into the world around you and it'll be effortless. It won't be like you have to have a conversation with your boss or your kids and say, well, I'm in my luteal phase. Like you'll never have that conversation. You'll know it intuitively and you'll experience the actions and you'll know what you should be doing because it'll feel good instead of feeling forced.
So you can see, women, how this is a entire mission. It's a change of the way of being. It is ultimately an evolution, not only of the women, but the way that the world receives and accepts and works with women to empower her. So the woman empowers herself by being her womanly self, and then the world catches up to that because now there's a paradigm shift.
Yeah.
And yes, of course it'll take a little time, but that's okay. We just keep marching forward with this. And this is why this work is so important and why I'm so excited to share this interview, because it truly is, it is the foundation. I don't know what else could go deeper than this subject. You are a woman, you are running a business. How do you blend who you are with what you want without judging yourself from an outside perspective that has some positive points that will work for you, but not the whole thing? Men can learn how to, take some of their feminine side to become better men, and we can take some of that masculine side to become better women. It's not like an all or nothing situation.
Yeah,
There's a
it's not an
blending.
either or. It's a yin and
Exactly.
yang.
It's a take a stand for the and, right? Exactly. And but the majority, you are woman, therefore you need to be a woman in all that you do and not try and replicate. So I just think that, like you said, once this, that getting comfortable with recognizing the awareness of all of the things where it becomes natural state, you know it's just going to grow into just such a beautiful blooming flower.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And it is. It's like a butterfly,
it
right? One
is.
of the
Yeah.
big things is change. If we didn't accept change, we would never have butterflies. And
Yes.
and so
Mm,
women right now, you're the butterfly. You're in the cocoon. You've been given the information, you've been given the nutrients, you've been given the opportunity, but now it's time for us to spread our wings for what's possible, right? And every flap of the wing creates that ripple effect, right? So
yes.
we need more ripples from the women. We need that
Yeah.
butterfly effect to happen. And part of that really is as women is to own this first. One of the biggest things that I started looking around me is where are my female leaders? Now, I challenge this because I see a lot of really good female leaders, but they're mimicking and miming the business mindset and the actions of. They're still high masculine and high feminine, but they're not a balance of the two. And
Yeah.
so I was even talking with a incredible speaker. She's a speaker, coach, and trainer. She's been on some very powerful stages. And I asked her specifically during an interview I had with her, I said, are there female speakers? And she totally honest, straight up with me said, no. There are female powerhouses. So there's a difference. There's a powerhouse female, which is a high acting male masculine energy female. But there hasn't been, except for she named one person, um, Tony Robbins' wife. She did a present. He goes, that was the first time I saw feminine speaker energy on the stage. And she did it virtually, right? So she wasn't even in front of a live audience per se. Um, but she says that was the first time I saw female come through and speaking. So again, we have these opportunities and it's going to be for us to push back, push a little bit and say, no, I'm going to do it a little differently because I think there's a balance that's needed for both. We need
Yes.
both the masculine and the feminine, and we need the weaving of the two. And so I
Yes.
invite you women to step into the weaving of it. Own who you are as a woman so that you can start weaving and blending in that masculine to help balance what we've seen as that patriarchal push, this drive forward. And then what women are is we are the bigger picture. We need to slow the men down, say, enough, hold up. We got this. Let's really integrate this into our world on a more humanistic level. And I think that's where I really would love to see this training come into for business, because if we can shift the business economics for women, we shift the entire planet.
Absolutely. I love this. I mean, this interview is just so robust already, but I will, as promised, ask you a couple success questions.
Okay.
Uh, it just seems like you've said everything about the world and the way we need to know it, that part of me is like, I don't even know if we need success questions, but just a couple. Let's see how this goes. So thank
Okay.
you. This is absolutely everything that you're speaking about is everything we women want. And it's so nice that you are showing up to help them, to guide them to their best selves. And as you said, your certificate program that you're bringing together, that will allow other women to do this work, and it will just continue and grow. And before you know it, we have a movement, we have change, we have evolution. And we're not even having to really change anything anymore because it's already accepted.
Yeah. And my biggest thing for what I believe is that when women, they say that money is power. For women, money is movement.
Mm.
And
Wow.
so we need more movement. And to create movement, women need to be in the position to have those choices to create those movements. And to do that, we need more millionaires. We need more billionaires. We need more women to be in those roles so that money isn't power, money becomes movement.
Oh, that's great. Absolutely love that. That's fantastic. Yeah. Money in a woman's hands can do so much good. It is
Oh,
about being of service and expansion and movement. Really, that's the
it is
perfect
the
word for
movement.
it. Yeah. Love this. Okay. Wow. Let's see what I don't even know. I got to go through my little success questions here because you just brought it. It's like mic
Oh,
drop, like, okay, we could just end here and it's perfect, but just a couple just for the
okay.
fun of it. So a lot of times we women love to hear about morning routines. So do you have a specific morning routine that you choose for yourself every day?
So funny enough, now that I understand what it is to be a woman, I actually let my mornings happen more naturally. So we've tend to have this thing to push our mornings, and some of you women will do it. Some of you will wake up and say, "Okay, I'm doing my exercise. I'm going to do this, this, and this." And there is a balance in just getting up and getting your day going. I know mentally that it is really good during your luteal phase to wake up and get into action, because that is your productivity phase. In my creativity phase, in my follicular phase, and my ovulatory phase, I'm sleeping in or journaling or taking a little bit more leisurely morning. So again, that morning routine shifts depending on where my energy is. I'm not going to force myself to conform to a daily method, when if I listen to my body, I will naturally do what feels good for me.
Perfect. I love that. Okay, I have a question about manifesting.
Ooh.
So, based on like your overview of, times of the month, it sounds like the actual menstrual cycle, that relaxation down, rest time, potentially could be that time to manifest. You were mentioning journaling and self-reflection and all of the things. What's your thought on manifesting? And is there a way to make it even more powerful by bringing in the concept of our monthly order?
So what I'm just thinking right now is just come to me because how you asked that question. I think women are naturally manifestors. Like we already naturally manifest. And then the reason I say this is because when we create life, if that isn't a freaking manifestation out of nothing but an egg and a sperm and a couple of cells, I don't know what we're doing in this world, right? We are
Right.
manifesting machines over here, not machines, but like beings, right? And we forget that because we get into the doing. So, we talk about that in the masculine in energy and in the business. They always talk about, what is manifesting, and it's being somebody that already has. So when you say, I'm manifesting this, it's saying, I choose this in my life. And then you will naturally take action steps to
Mhm.
have that come into your life. You'll ask questions, you'll make bold requests, you'll do things that align with bringing something to you. And if you've never read the book, The Science of Getting Rich, read it. Read it every single year. Read it every single month if you need to and to get started. But this tells you that it's a correlation between who you believe you are and what you have and your ability to do the actions that bring it to you. That for me is manifestation. And women, when we start asking, we start receiving, and we are meant to be receivers. So be
Yes.
open to receiving in your world anything and everything you wish.
Yes. Permission. Giving yourself permission. Absolutely. What would you say is your favorite part of being an entrepreneur?
My favorite part of being an entrepreneur? Oh, well, I think I love this question for two reasons. One is because I really did become an entrepreneur for time and flexibility. I wanted to be able to do what I want, when I want, how I want, and not have to be responsible to anybody's, response. The second part of that is when you're a business owner, you still are accountable for other people, no
Mm.
matter what. So I love being an entrepreneur because I love seeing the impact. There is as much as I loved being a chef and I loved serving people, the meal they ate was a one-time experience. When you get to coach somebody and they have a transformation of self and business and money, I have seen so many of my students go on to excel in extraordinary things, and to know that I had a small part of that is really one of the greatest gifts that I can be gifted. And so that is why I love being an entrepreneur, because I I get to pour into you what I've learned, but ultimately at the end of the day, I want to support you in creating what's best for you. And whatever that looks like, that's what's best for you. It's not about me. It really is about helping the next person be a better, do more, be more, create more. Because I don't know the impact you're going to have, but just knowing you're going to create that impact and serve, that's a blessing.
Yes. I love that. I was going to ask you a final question, but I think you basically just answered it, which is how do you define success? And I think that you can't say it any better than that. And, and also, like you're saying, that woman and how she's, evolved and is going to bless her immediate family and those around her. And then it becomes this generational change for the better, which I think is the ultimate success that anyone could dream to have for their business is,
Yeah.
the impact you said, the impact and transformation that you not only make on your client, but because you made that on your client, that client goes and shares their newfound self with their family, friends, and then we have movement again, a different kind of movement, mental movement, money movement. Let's just start moving, women. I love
Yeah.
this. So I just tell you, I can't thank you enough for this. It's very groundbreaking. It's kind of interesting because it should be so obvious. Hello, we're women. How do we not know that? How do we not know
It's so
necessarily how to
funny.
function, right? Yeah.
Like, I'm 45 and I'm just learning that I'm a female?
Yes,
Like, what
exactly.
the heck? Yeah.
Exactly. But it's groundbreaking because it's a permission.
Yeah.
So it's less that we didn't know it and didn't probably wanted to very much experience it, but we were being held accountable by the different sex, the opposite sex that had a different mode of operation, and we just kind of like, oh, okay. And now this is basically it's your work ultimately is about permission to be you, to be a
It's
woman.
it's the ancient work. So
Yeah.
it's been in our lives and throughout history for years.
Yes.
But
Yes.
women have been
Yeah.
persecuted
Yep.
for
Exactly.
being a woman, because it can be and has been something men fear, because we do naturally carry the power of life.
Yeah. Yeah.
Naturally.
Yeah. Hmm.
And when you don't carry that as a man, then you fight for it in other ways. And so I don't believe that it's new. I think it's just the evolution, the cycle has come back around for women. And so a lot of what you're hearing, if you guys are going on there and you're starting to dive deeper into this, you'll hear things like breath work now. You'll hear things about sound healing. You'll hear things around meditation. You'll hear things a little differently from women. You'll see them gravitating towards these methodologies and these healings because it feels good to us. And again, it goes back to that grounding of being in your
I,
body as a woman.
that's what I was just going to say, grounding work.
Yeah.
Mother Nature, put your feet in the dirt, get grounded. This
Yeah.
is really, it's a lot more than we even realize. The
Yeah.
the power, the energy, the life force, all of that. That life force isn't just necessarily about giving birth to a baby. That life force is Mother Nature, and you are connected. You are it. You are it, and it is you, and it's everything. So
Yeah.
I love this. I think that the work that you're doing is amazing. Oh,
Thank
wow. Yeah,
I know we can have this conversation forever,
I
but I
I
know that
tell you,
we've had a great conversation. But
fans.
this is, I hope that as a for those that are listening that are getting this, this is the tip of the iceberg, and it's going to require each of us as women to take this to the next step. And so I know I'm the catalyst, I'm the start of this, but I'm not the end of this. This doesn't end with me. And so I invite you to experience building a business in a new way. I really do. I invite you to come in and see for yourself, experience for yourself, and give yourself permission in this process because it is vastly different than what we traditionally are taught behind the closed doors of the 6 and 7 figures. But it almost feels like this is that next women's society. But when women hold hands and connect, we change the world. And that's the movement I'm asking for is grab hold of my hand so that you can hold the hand of the next woman that you meet and pass on this knowledge because that is truly what I'm out to do is to pass the knowledge and have it expand bigger than me because it's all tied together and I'm not just one of this network of this weave of life. I am part of this network.
Yeah, in a way, it's kind of like we're birthing that newfound way of being to the next woman. And
Yeah.
so it's a different type of birthing, but it's still a birthing. And I think it's fantastic what you're doing. So one more time before we sign off, where can all these beautiful women find you?
So you can go to our website. My website, it's truthbombmarketing.com. It started off because we're dropping truth bombs and we're dropping the truths around what it is to really be a woman in business. So that's the first place you can find me. And then also anywhere on social media, Truth Bomb Marketing is another place. That's Truth BOMB. It's like dropping a bomb. Just to clarify. Then if you find my name, Chef Katrina, you'll find me there too. So both places kind of allow you to find me since I started originally as Chef Katrina and then transitioned to this. But yeah, this is the journey and I invite you to be on it and learn from it and experience it for yourself.
Well, I cannot say enough about your work. I think you hear me gushing all the time, but and we are so aligned because just like my name of my company was very purposeful, wealthy woman every day. And the wealth part is not only about the money, it's about wealth and abundance and everything. It's just that declaration of I am woman. I want to show up in the ways that make me feel wealthy and naturally so. And I want to, do it every day. So this is a great connection here. I cannot wait to share your work and please reach out, get in touch. There is so much waiting for you. You think that you've already are these beautiful, successful women that you are, and you are, and congratulations for that. But now imagine you just are able to customize it to yourself, to who you really are. Like this is bespoke work. This is customization now. Like let's get into who you are and make the best of you. Give yourself permission. Say yes to yourself.
Yes.
Okay, that's all I got for now. See you next time, you beautiful, wealthy women. Keep moving forward, going for your dreams, and trust yourself and say yes to yourself and give yourself permission to be the wonderful, wealthy woman that you are every single day. Amen. Bravo. Okay, bye for now.